We're on filmsgonewild.com. My name is John Wildman. I'm the editor of Films Gone Wild. And we are at the Naples International Film Festival. We're going to talk about a very cool short film. We've got a whole team here, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you. So, start off, Sam.
Yo, what's up? I'm Stevo Chang. I'm the writer-director for this film, as well as many other things we could talk about later.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Rhodes, and I am a cast member.
Hi, I'm Mathieu. I'm a writer-director and an actress on the film.
Okay, our audience has not seen Timeless as of yet, so introduce them to the film. Tell us about Timeless.
Yes, Timeless follows the story of a girl who's working in Paris. She has been really overworked, and her sister, played by Aubrey Rhodes, comes to visit her. And while she's there, she's in a freak accident that causes time to be frozen from everyone but her. So she finally gets to experience the city and get to enjoy all of the things that she's always wanted to do in Paris. But over time, she realizes that it has no meaning because she isn't able to share it with her sister, so she kind of has a bit of a crisis on what to do.
Okay.
Yes.
Now. Yes, and all that is crunched down to.
Yes.
What's our running time on the film?
11 minutes, I think.
11
Yes.
minutes. Okay. 11 minutes.
So we'll see. Yes.
We'll go with 11 minutes.
Yes.
All right, but there's a lot going on in 11 minutes. And it's funny because I was talking to you on the red carpet about this, that when you saw it, you're like going, holy crap, there's like 2 billion cuts in this movie, and there's all this kind of stuff going on, and I guess I'm in it. I mean, I am in it, but, because there's so much happening. And so I would love for you, and Steven, the two of you to talk about that, about the construction of this film, because there is a lot going into this premise to get it, that you go, all right, we're telling a story, but we are going to dissect it and deconstruct it and turn it on its head and do all these things. So talk about that, why you took that approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we first started working together on this project, we kind of came together with this broader project called 100 Flicks, which was a kind of film collective. Yes, and we wanted all of the shorts to be very different in story, but have a similar theme in a magical realism type of world. So we wanted all of the stories to be very different, but to have something about it that was a visual effect or some sort of extra beyond your usual scope of life story, but also have something about the story that grounded it in reality as well. So for this one, we really wanted to explore the world of someplace beautiful like Paris through some sort of magic realism type of lens. And so we had a lot of experimentation that we did for this film to get all of those, special effects and that sort of thing. So we had to be flexible to an extent in Paris because they were getting set up for the 2024 Olympics at the time. So some of the things that we had planned were behind scaffolding. So we had to be adaptable, to be sure.
All right.
Yeah, and I think for the production approach to it, because it's, it looks like the visual effects is kind of like, it's big, the scope is huge, and our budget is non-existent. We're also a short film. And so to approach it, we had to fundamentally approach it in a different way, approaching from a content creator type of workflow versus a traditional production workflow. And that allowed for us to really have a lot of flexibility and freedom and, film all the locations that we filmed with all our wonderful cast friends.
And I think something that I would love for you guys to speak on, because I am even kind of an outsider of this, because you guys put so much work into the special effects and the editing process, which was so fascinating. So can you speak to kind of how that changed throughout? Because how many hours did you guys do all in with? Can you just speak to that? I feel like that's a huge part of the craft of this narrative that John's asking about.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, we for over a year would spend every Wednesday night and a 10 to 10 on a Saturday or Sunday just going through every single frame by frame, cutting things, reworking things. We did 1 million green screen pickups. We had a ton of revision as we went through, because just realistically, I mean, one of the biggest things that was so challenging about this concept that we didn't think about until we got into post was even things like days that it was really windy. If there was a ton of movement in the background of trees or movement in the water on the Seine, the whole world is supposed to be frozen. So we would have to really get creative with how we were making all of that work.
And I want to stay with the two of you first, because there's when you're acting in something like this,
Yeah.
you know, oftentimes we're doing a scene, right? And so we got being in the middle of the scene. But here, you know, as actors, sometimes you're going, well, I just need you to stand there and look over here, and be a little concerned. Now I need you to turn around. And you go, and I'm still acting, but I'm sorry, what am I doing again? Right? And you go, I don't. I was doing the Stella Adler shit. I don't remember this being part of it. So talk about the challenge as an actor to again, stay present, be a character, and not and not just be a mannequin.
Yeah.
And yet, so you get that stuff that you can then utilize. Talk about it.
Yes, I think, that was one of the things that was so great about having Stevo and I have like so much time together as we were preparing this project, because by the time we were in Paris and shooting, we both knew this story and this character like the back of our hands. So when we did have to do a lot of those things where it's like, okay, we're adapting, we're going to put this piece in that maybe was a little bit different than we had originally envisioned it, it was so helpful that we had spent so much time in advance preparing and working through the script and writing, so that by the time we got there, the character felt very ingrained. And I feel like Stevo and I both, in terms of the story, can very much relate to this character's journey of being a bit of a workaholic. And so that character was something that was not too hard to tap into.
It's like we memorized the whole story, the whole outline,
Yes.
and we're second-handing it. If you were to like listen in on us, we're not completing sentences. It's like we're like, got it.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
know it.
yes.
And then you used to spend all day in bed. So, right?
I had the most fabulous pleasure of being a part of this. I'd worked with both of them in different capacities as writers, directors, producers, creators, and a bunch of different things. And in this one, I just got to be a cast member. And it was such a joy. Speaking to what you were saying about like coming in as an actor, Rachel and I met at theater school. And yes, you're doing all the Stella Adler and the Uta Hagen. And you're like, oh my gosh, we have so many tools. And sometimes and that's what draws me to theater, is there's so much control as the actor in a theater medium. But then on film, you have to really trust the people behind the camera and in the editing room. And it was such a joy because like you allude to, my whole scene was I woke up, they had an Airbnb in like Manhattan Beach.
Cheating for Paris.
Cheating for Paris.
Bouncing in the window.
Yeah. I remember you said that. And I had read the script, and Rachel had reached out to me, and she was like, I need someone to play my sister. And I was so flattered because I was like, I think so highly of her. And I was like, you think someone would believe we're related? Oh my goodness gracious. So I was like, yes. So I drive up there, and I wake up in this beautiful Airbnb, and basically my character spends the majority of her like single scene just around this bed and in the bed. So I was relaxing, chilling out. And then in the cutting and the edits of it, they ended up kind of making my character more of what I initially thought she was. And so to have that trust and to see I was like, at the end, when they sent me the final edit, it was such a surprise. So I felt like just in really great hands. And rather than, I'm sure you've heard a lot of actors getting butchered in the cutting room. So that was not the case.
Of all our cast members, including myself, who had to stay frozen, she was the most perfect at it. I had to freeze frame myself because I'm just jittery, but wow.
Okay, well, I don't want to give a spoiler alert, but the moment I don't become frozen is a moment. And I literally was like, oh my gosh, yeah. I'm so sorry. I should have stayed frozen for like a 0.2 longer.
That's why we don't cut the camera after we say cut. We let it roll. You want some of that in between moments.
And it ends up they got creative with it.
Yeah. Well, listen, and I love story and I've done this on films that I've directed as well, where like you're watching a film and it's just a close up on them, and they're like so deep in thought, and because they're contemplating the decision they have to make. You go, well, no, actually we weren't actually shooting. They were thinking about lunch. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
But we don't know that. And we project everything onto them as perfect, right?
Yes.
And so that's what I thought. Like this is like the grand version of that, where you're every moment you're going, well, no, I just left the, like you said, we left the camera on, and we were re-saying the things, and then when the editing bay, we said, oh, this is awesome. Look at her expression. This is great, right?
Absolutely.
You guys had to choose all the people that you chose to freeze. So you were like, you got to choose, is it going to be a flattering freeze or not?
Well, that was such an interesting part of the process, and such a interesting filmmaking thing to have to navigate was, to Stevo's point, there were a lot of frames and little moments where somebody had a little hand tremor or whatever, where it was like, all right, either we mask it out or we, cut this in a different way. So we definitely had to think about that a lot. And especially in Paris, it was really challenging because we were in these big areas like the Arc de Triomphe and right in the middle of the Seine. And so there was a lot that we had to do to make it work with whatever was happening around us. It was definitely complicated.
Yeah, I was just to add on to that. It's almost like the ocean, and people are coming and going. And there's an ebb and flow, and we're waiting there for like 20 minutes just so it's empty enough to get Rachel to walk down the stairs. And so there's a lot of like waiting game with that as well. In Paris, in public places in general, because those locations were free.
Right. Well, that's a bit again, and I want to finish with the two of you talking about the construction at the conclusion, because you guys you're going out, you're tweaking things, you're reshooting, you're doing this stuff, and it's one of those things it's like the. What was it, like the George Lucas thing where he goes in and he's still adding, freaking Ewoks, 20 years later. It's like, let it go. It's done, right?
Yes.
But we all have those moments as filmmakers where we're like, we're watching with an audience and go, I just hate that moment.
Right.
Can I go back and tweet? And you go, no, it's over.
Right.
Let it go. They're fine. They're enjoying it. So I was looking for the two of you to talk about finding that moment of zen within yourself going,
yes.
Okay, this is finally done.
Yes, that's a really excellent point. And I think that's one of the things that's helpful about having a collaborator, because I think that there are times where I maybe was like, this has to be this way, and same for you, and we could balance each other out on that sort of thing, where there might have been certain things, like I think I tend to be really, really particular about certain types of editing things that I know I'm like a little bit maniacal about.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Well, and Stevo has that same eye with VFX, so I think we really helped balance each other out in that respect, where I could be like, all right, we are done with VFX. This is over, and you could do the same for me with some of the editing choices. So I think in that respect, it was helpful to have a collaborator.
I think you guys ended at just the right point. Again, the film is timeless. Talking with Rachel, Aubrey, and Stevo. Congratulations again. I love this film.
Thank you so much. Great to talk with you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.